Hey, this is Ben Azadi, the author of Keto Flex. And if you want to learn about biohacking, then you got to check out The Hacked Life with Joel Evan. It's one of the best podcasts you'll ever listen to.
Hey, what's up? Joel Evan here, host of the Hack Life podcast and weight loss coach for busy men. I'm excited to tell you I just dropped an 8-week program dedicated to motivated and busy men who want to lose weight. Let's face it, guys, when you lose weight, you feel more confident and you have higher self-esteem and you go out and you crush the world. You crush your goals and you start living your higher purpose. So if you're interested, DM me at Joel Evan Coaching or email me below, info@joelevancoaching.com. All right, I'm here with Ben Azadi. He's on a mission to help 1 billion people live a healthier lifestyle. Ben is the author of 4 best-selling books, The Perfect Health Booklet, Intermittent Fasting Cheat Sheet, The Power of Sleep, and his newest book, Keto Flex. Ben has also been the go-to source for intermittent fasting and the ketogenic diet. Ben, welcome to the show, man.
Joel, I'm happy to be here with you. I love what you're doing, and thanks for inviting me.
This is going to be a lot of fun. I thought it'd be cool to just start things off with your story and how you got to. First of all, you have a huge brand. It's an amazing group and a community of people under your brand, of Keto Kamp. And I got to see you in action recently at the Biohacking Congress biohacking event, and your story of how you got here made me cry. So can you tell everybody how you kind of came on this journey?
For sure. And I saw you in action too. What a pleasure, man. You're an inspiration to this world. You're doing some great work.
Thanks, brother.
So, yeah, I'm somebody who grew up here in beautiful Miami Beach, Florida, the state of freedom. Back then where we all had freedom, but now I think only Florida and a few other states have some freedom. But I was left to my own devices, Joel. I had my 2 parents who divorced. My mom raised me. She worked 3 jobs. 2 of those jobs were at 2 separate Kentucky Fried Chickens. So I ate KFC all the time, fried food all the time. I was obese, physically, mentally, addicted to drugs, sugar, video games, a toxic environment. And that showed up as an adult, where I found myself at the age of 24 years old being a 250-pound obese man who was lost in life, going through a bad breakup. I wanted to commit suicide because I was so depressed. I didn't know how to deal with the breakup. I was crying every single day, and I just wanted to give up. I was tired of experiencing that pain every single day. And anytime I explored suicide, I would think about my mother. I would think about what she would have to deal with if I took my own life, and it stopped me from pursuing that. So I knew I had to figure things out, and it started with reading books. I picked up 1 book, which led to a second and then a third, and I became obsessed with these amazing authors like Earl Nightingale and Bob Proctor, Jim Rohn, other incredible people who shared their rock bottom and what they did to get out of that space and create greatness. And it really inspired me. But the most important thing it did for me was it helped me take ownership and responsibility, which a lot of people lack that now more than ever. Responsibility, that word is very important. That is your ability to respond to life. Up until that point, my ability to respond to life was poor. I was blaming everybody. I was blaming my metabolism, my slow metabolism, my genetics, my enabling family members. I was blaming everyone and anything. So I was playing the victim card, but then reading these books helped me take ownership, and I became, at that moment, the victor of my destiny, no longer the victim of my history. So I started to put that into action with exercise and eating better. And 9 months after that, taking ownership, I lost 80 pounds. I went from 250 pounds down to 170 pounds, 34% body fat down to 6% body fat. So I finally achieved a physical 6-pack. But the most important thing I believe I achieved was a mental 6-pack. I started to think better thoughts. And then that's what got me started in the health space. I became a personal trainer and then a CrossFit gym owner. And that's what got me started. But it wasn't until, as you know, my father got sick and he had type 2 diabetes, which is a lifestyle disease. And it was treated with medication, which is a huge mismatch right there. And my dad suffered a massive stroke, which left him paralyzed, left him with the inability to even speak. And for 9 months, I watched his health just decline in the hospital and essentially his deathbed. and he ended up passing on, and it brought a lot of questions for me. I wanted to know, why did my dad have to suffer? Why did we have to suffer? And see that when we did pretty much most of what his doctors told us to do. And I realized that his doctors were not trying to get to the root cause of why he had diabetes. Type 2 diabetes is rampant. It's a lifestyle disease that should be treated with lifestyle changes, but they didn't recommend that. They recommended a pill, medication, increase in the medication. So I now understand this, and now I speak it on my books and on podcasts like this. So I know I could have saved my dad. He would be here to this day, but I also understand that I had to go through that. I was given that mountain so I could show the world that the mountain can be moved. So that's the mission here at Keto Kamp, is to educate and to inspire 1 billion people, to help them understand how incredible their body is. We have this inner physician within us. We just have to do our part to activate it. And that's what we talk about all the time.
Dude, I love that. And if anybody like reads your mission statement that says, I want to help 1 billion people, like if anybody didn't know you, they're like, oh yeah, that sounds like fluffy or whatever. But like, seriously, like that is your goal. Like, this guy is serious. He's on a mission. And when you hear that story, like, you know that this is you're dedicated, man. And I just love that about you. And I hear what you mean. Like, you had to almost go through that to come out the other side to do what you do. And you're so committed to that vision like no other, you know?
Thank you, Joel.
You know, one of the things you just said, I'm curious, you know, you said, you know, you had to get this mental six pack. You do a lot of coaching through what you do through the podcast and just your Keto Kamp. What do you think? Is that like one of the biggest hurdles for people that want to get in shape? Is that like a reoccurring theme you see? Is that lack of mental mindset, or is there one that jumps out at you that you see all the time reoccurring for people that are trying to lose weight but never quite do it?
Totally. It's the mindset component. You got to exercise before you exercise. So a lot of people, they'll be doing keto perfectly, fasting perfectly, but they have these negative, hateful, fearful, toxic thoughts. And as you know, Joel, your thoughts create your reality. And if you have fear, you're going to raise cortisol, your stress hormone. And 90% of disease is from chronic stress, meaning chronically elevated levels of cortisol. And it goes further than that. I mean, our thoughts create frequencies. Bruce Lipton has proven this with his work. Our thoughts create frequencies. Those frequencies actually have the ability to connect to receptor sites that are on our cells, penetrate the cells, and tell our DNA to produce a specific protein. And that protein, if it's a negative toxic thought, could be a protein that leads to disease and inflammation. Or that protein, if it's a positive, loving, gratitude thought, could lead to proteins of healing and abundance and a downregulation of inflammation. So a lot of people miss that because, let's face it, we are bombarded with fear, and we have environments that perpetuate that. So a lot of people come into the space, they want to lose weight, but we got to get their thoughts in order, because we think about 60,000 thoughts a day, and we better be really diligent and conscious of those thoughts. And when we find ourselves thinking a bad thought, that stinking thinking, which happens to all of us, but we got to get good at choosing a better thought. So for sure, some of the things I hear, Joel, is I'm trying to do it. I tried this. I'm gonna try this, or yeah, I'm interested in this. And those two words are bad words. Interested and trying are bad words here at Keto Kamp, because first of all, when you try something, you're setting yourself up for failure. Trying is failure with honor. Okay, nobody wants that. And then being interested means, yeah, you know, it sounds like a good idea, you know, getting healthy and losing weight. That's different than being committed. When you're committed, you do whatever it takes. And even if life punches you in the face, you take those punches, you navigate, and you just keep going. So I'm very aware of hearing those words when somebody tells me I'm going to try to do this, or I'm interested in doing this. And I just, you know, give them some coaching, some love, and reframe them to, let's not try, let's just do it. And then let's not be interested in it. Let's be committed. And those are big little changes that make a big difference.
I love that. That is so good. Let's dive into some of your book, your new best-selling book, Keto Flex. I'm a huge Seinfeld guy, and you have this thing that you refer to in the book called the George Costanza Effect. And when it comes to weight loss, what is this George Costanza Effect that you're talking about?
Seinfeld would be canceled right now by the cancel culture, right?
Yeah.
So I got it from Dr. Fung, so credit to Dr. Fung. But so it is not just with weight loss, but with health in general. When we think about, so there was an episode on Seinfeld, and if nobody knows Seinfeld or they're the younger generation listening, Seinfeld was a popular sitcom in the 90s, and there was a character on that show. His name was George Costanza. And George Costanza was miserable. He was getting terrible results in life. He was unhappy. He was unhealthy. He was broke. He was living with his parents as an adult. So he had the idea in one of these episodes of Seinfeld to do everything opposite of what he had been doing up until that point. And he wanted to see what would happen if he did that. So, for example, he would go to a restaurant and instead of ordering the tuna salad, he would order a chicken salad, or he would order something else completely different that he'd never ordered before. So that was one example. Another example would be and when he would walk up to a girl at the bar, instead of saying some sort of lie where he's like some sort of millionaire, he would say, "Hey, I'm George Costanza. I'm bald. I live with my parents. It's nice to meet you." And the girl would turn around and say, "Hey, let's sit down next to me. Let's talk." And he started to realize that everything in his life started to improve the minute that he did everything opposite of what he had been doing up until that point. So this is called the George Costanza Effect. How do we apply that? Well, when we look at what the mainstream media and the mainstream news is talking about and recommending for our health, when we look at what the government recommends for our health, when we look at these articles on your Facebook feed and on Google, because Google is now creating this algorithm to give you some BS, do the complete opposite of what they're showing you, the Costanza Effect, and you're going to be healthier, happier, you're going to be more abundant, and that's what the George Costanza Effect is all about.
It's so good. So good. Hey, I'm curious. I was thinking about this today. What did you eat yesterday? Like, what's a typical day like for Ben Azadi? What does Ben Azadi eat?
Well, yesterday I went to a restaurant, so I had. Well, let's start with the morning. I had in the morning I had some coffee, some purity coffee, so organic, high quality coffee. I put a little bit of some grass-fed butter. So when I say a little bit, like half a tablespoon of grass-fed butter, 1 tablespoon of brain octane oil from Bulletproof, Dave Asprey, speaking of which, and some sea salt in that coffee, blended it together in the French press. That's all I had in the morning. That kept me going really good until around 3 p.m. At 3 p.m., I broke the fast. I had some cashews, and then I had a little bit of actually some chicken breast that was cooked from the night before. So that was like not even a full meal, but it was enough to kind of hit the sweet spot. And then I went all the way until dinner. Dinner was later than usual. We ate around 8 p.m. I typically don't eat that late. So at dinner, I had some lamb. I had a rack of lamb, some wild mushrooms, and asparagus. And that's what I had all day yesterday.
Yeah, that sounds terrible. What a terrible dinner,
It was so good.
Yeah. I mean, I love just that. I mean, that's awesome. I mean, you can just see it's like when you frame it like that, it's like that's not that hard to eat. That's like all really good quality food,
Exactly.
It's not that hard to do. That's great.
It tastes good. I felt good. My energy was up eating it. Yeah, exactly. It's not difficult. A lot of people think they would miss their sugar and their pizza and all that, but not necessarily. Maybe in the beginning it might be a tough transition, but this is real food. It's quality food, and you're going to feel so much better after you eat it. You're not going to get this energy slump, and I think that's most important out of all of that.
Yeah. Let's talk about that really quick. I know in your book you talk a lot about cravings. What are some ways that people can kind of hack those cravings? Any recommendations?
Yeah, for sure. So in the beginning, if you're brand new to keto or low carb, then I recommend doing a gradual approach. Don't go cold turkey because that brain is going to go crazy on you. So go, slowly decrease the carbohydrates. At the same time, increase your healthy fat and protein. So in the book, I have the 2-2-2-2 rule, which I got from my mentor, Dr. Pampa. And that is every single day you want to consume 2 tablespoons of olive oil or avocado oil, 2 tablespoons of coconut oil or MCT oil, 2 tablespoons of grass-fed butter or grass-fed ghee, and the final 2 is 2 teaspoons of sea salt. What that's going to do, it's going to help your body start utilizing fatty acids instead of sugar, glucose, good, and then the sea salt's going to replenish your electrolytes. So you could do that. If that's not doing the trick, what you can do is increase your protein. Protein has cholecystokinin. Well, it doesn't have it. A protein activates cholecystokinin, peptide YY, leptin, these satiety hormones in the body, so it helps you feel full. And then you could go a step further and take something like L-glutamine. I say in the book, L-glutamine will help you wean. What that does, it calms the part of the brain that lights up when somebody experiences a sugar craving. It's the same part of the brain that lights up when somebody experiences a cocaine addiction. So we want to take like 500 milligrams of L-glutamine 2 to 3 times a day. That could calm that part of the brain. There's also things like cinnamon and fenugreek and a few other things I write in the book. But I would start right there. That should be enough for you to overcome that. After about 21, 28 days, you're gonna rearrange your palate and you're gonna start craving the lamb that I ate. You're gonna start craving the cashews and more of the healthy fats and protein instead of the sugar.
Yeah, love that. Thank you. What do you I know we talked about mindset, but when through your training and just from everything that you've seen, what do you think is the most common mistake for people that want to lose weight?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Or maybe even go and adapt to the keto lifestyle. Maybe either or. They may be interchangeable actually.
Yeah, my answer would be for both. Yeah, so sleep. People sacrifice sleep. They underestimate the importance of sleep, but sleep is paramount to health, whether it's fat loss, more energy, skin issues. I mean, sleep will help you achieve all of that. And a lot of people, sleep is not sexy, but it's the Swiss Army knife of health. It really is. So a lot of people are getting 4 to 5 hours of sleep, or maybe they're getting 8 hours, but it's not quality sleep. So optimizing your sleep is going to help you make better decisions the next day. We know through a lot of research that just one poor night of sleep will result, and that's categorized as less than 7 hours, will result in higher levels of cortisol the next morning, that stress hormone we already spoke about. What follows cortisol is glucose. What follows glucose is insulin. And what goes down when that goes up? Ketone. So it could prevent you from getting into ketosis. It can knock you out of ketosis. But also, ghrelin, the hunger hormone, ghrelin is also higher. So you're hungrier. And then leptin, the satiety hormone, is down. So you're hungrier. When you eat, you're less satisfied. And you're going to make poor decisions. It's going to wipe out your willpower. So that's going to be key for everybody to start improving their sleep, and then keto will work better, fasting will work better, but it starts with sleep.
I love that you said that. I was just rereading Why We Sleep by Matthew Walker.
Yeah.
And the 7 hours of sleep thing blew my mind. And then he just talks about kind of what you just mentioned, that that prefrontal cortex, that executive decision-making part of your brain, that is offline when you're not getting sleep. And so you tend to make poor decisions like eating those sugary snacks or those cravings. They really start to kick in. So that's huge, man. Thank you.
Yeah, you got it. Yeah, it's not fun to be sleep deprived, man. You could go, here's why, another point, that you could go days without food, aka fasting. You could go days without exercise, but you cannot go days without sleep. You turn into a crazy person. It is so essential to our health.
What are some myths? You write about some of these common weight loss myths in Keto Flex. What are a couple that jump out on you that are complete myths and that people are really getting wrong?
Yeah. So the first one is we don't lose weight to get healthy. It's the complete opposite. We actually get healthy to lose weight. So how do you get healthy? Well, you focus on inflammation, you focus on cells, you focus on hormones, and you do that through ketosis and fasting the right way, of course, sleep. So that's the first myth. And aligned with that is the whole calories in versus calories out nonsense, because when you're focusing on calories, it's a huge distraction to what really matters, which is cell metabolism and hormones. So the calories in versus calories out camp is that lose weight to get healthy camp, which is the complete opposite. I think calories matter for sure. I'm not saying they don't matter, but I'm saying they're not important. The body doesn't have any mechanism for counting calories. So why are we counting them? The body is not a math equation or a bank account or a checkbook. It's a freaking complex chemistry lab. So let's treat it as such. And I've been there, Joel. I don't know if you have before, but I used to do the whole calories in
Yeah.
versus calories out. I used to do seminars at my previous CrossFit gym, the science of fat loss, and we would calculate your basal metabolic rate and your total daily energy expenditure. And here's what you need to do, and let's manipulate the science here. And it's a whole bunch of BS. I realized this is not serving my community. It's only going to get them results short term, and then
Yeah.
the body's too smart, it'll figure it out, and then they're just going to be frustrated long term. So those are the biggest myths right there.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, at 18, I really got into bodybuilding. So I grew into that was how I really kind of got into health and fitness, started lifting weights a lot. And I had a subscription to Muscle and Fitness magazine. And of course, yeah, what did they tell you? 3,500 calories is 1 pound. So, I mean, if you just think about that, like you would have to burn 3,500 calories to lose 1 pound. I mean, it's just crazy. Like it just mathematically, that doesn't work out.
It's nonsense, dude. It's just a distraction.
Yeah. And it sells a lot of products, I'm sure, too.
Still to this day, for
Yeah.
sure.
You're a big fan of fasting. Obviously, most people find it very difficult. I'm sure you have clients that find it difficult. I know I have them. It's challenging. Any hacks or anything that you use to kind of help adapt people or get them to gradually start to enjoy fasting? Or make it a part of their day, or make it part of their routine?
Totally. Yeah. I mean, the best thing to do is to get fat adapted beforehand. So doing a little bit of low carb keto, 14 to 21 days, and then doing some intermittent fasting strategies. And if you're starting fasting, one of the best ways to start, it's simply fast 3 hours before bed. So for example, if you go to sleep at 11 p.m. each night, make the cutoff at 8 p.m. where you're chewing your last bite of food. Nothing past 8 p.m. So 3 hours before bed. Let's say you sleep for 6 to 7 hours. So that's another 6 to 7 hours of fasting. And then when you wake up, give yourself at least 3 hours before you eat something. So that could equate to like 16 to 18 hours of a fast. If that's still a challenge to you, then you could simply go from 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. Just 12 hours and then kind of work from there. There's also fasting crutches. I talk about it in the book. So having like a fatty cup of coffee like I do could be a good fasting crutch. Having just pure fat like coconut oil, a tablespoon of coconut oil, that doesn't technically break a fast. It doesn't give you a glucose response. That could be a crutch for you. There's also like partial fast and bone broth fasting, but you could do those crutches until you feel like you want to go and just do water. And you're going to get the most results with just water. But that's the way I would start it. And another thing that I would add is to make sure your electrolytes and sea salt are up during that fast, because a lot of people get these symptoms during a fast, and it's because their electrolytes are being depleted. So keep that on point, and then you'll be able to build up that fasting muscle. I love it. I think it's one of the best tools that we have. But it's a tool, like any tool out there. We got to know how to use that tool, because any tool could hurt you or help you. So we got to know how to use it.
Beautiful, man. I love that. Those are all really, really great tips. I wanted to ask you, people have heard ketosis is nothing new, right? It's been all the rage for the last couple of years, I think, right now. You always have these trends, right? Paleo, keto, carnivore now. Who knows what the next one will be, right? What makes Keto Flex different, man? You got a really interesting plan and some really cool ideas. What makes it different than the normal keto diet?
Yeah, exactly. I'm glad you asked that question, because you're right. There are so many keto books out there. There are so many keto educators out there. So the way I view keto is from the cellular lens, right? The body has 50 to 70 trillion cells. So how can we use this powerful tool, ketosis, to reduce inflammation around the cells and let the body do its thing? We know, like you said, keto is nothing new. It's just more nuanced. Keto technically is not a diet. It's a metabolic process, and it has been around since humans have existed. So every single one of our ancestors did keto. That's a fact. But at the same token, they didn't stay in ketosis long term. Whenever they had the opportunity to eat carbohydrates, they took that opportunity. Hence, keto flexing in and out of ketosis. So the way that I teach it in the book Keto Flex is to get you into ketosis. So let's get you fat adapted. Let's teach your cells to burn fat instead of sugar, which is profound for inflammation, because when a cell is stuck as a sugar burning cell, a glucose burning cell, that creates a lot of cellular toxins. cells produce energy via the mitochondria and ATP, and it creates cellular smoke, toxins, and the body has to get rid of that. The cell needs to remove those toxins. Same way, if I burn firewood right here in my room, and that firewood had all this smoke coming out, I would need some sort of chimney. I would need to open my windows to get those toxins out. Well, when the cells are burning glucose, it creates a lot of toxins. I compare that to a Mack truck that is speeding through the streets here with all of the smoke being blasted out of the exhaust pipe of that Mack truck. That truck is not healthy for the surrounding environment. Well, when your cells are stuck as a sugar burner, not healthy for your cellular environment. So what we do in the first pillar of my book, we teach your cells to switch over to a cleaner source of fuel called fat and ketones. That we know is cleaner because it creates a lot less cellular byproducts when the cells are burning fat. I compare that to a Tesla, cleaner source of energy than the truck. So that's the first thing. And then after we do the work and we build up the metabolism, we do different strategies of fasting, we do a little bit of some carnivore, but after 60 days of doing this, strict ketosis, then we start flexing. And that's what separates my work from a lot of keto educators out there. To your question, is I teach not to stay in ketosis. As a matter of fact, I think it's very unhealthy to stay in ketosis long term. I think it's important to use it as a tool to go in and out. The ultimate goal is metabolic freedom and metabolic flexibility, and I can help the reader achieve that in about 60 days. And then we start flexing, and that's where all the magic happens.
What I love about your approach is what you just said. You are a quote unquote keto guy, but you're not so dogmatic and like narrow minded, like you have to be in ketosis all the time. You're like, no, it's a tool. Let's use this. Let's ebb and flow. Let's use some other tools, and we can come in and out of this stuff. And you use all types of modalities, like you said, and you're not just so narrowly focused, which I really love your holistic approach, you know?
Thank you, brother. Appreciate that.
I can't tell. I just lost your face. I hope I can.
Oh, you
did.
did?
You see mine?
I'm here.
Yeah. I can't see you. I don't know what happened. Ben
weird.
Azadi left.
I'm here. Is it your internet or is it mine?
Maybe it's mine. Mine was a little funny this morning. I don't know why.
Yeah, mine's good. Mine's strong
Okay.
right now.
I mean, it shows strong.
But I'm
but
here.
It was
Rest
funny.
assured, I'm here, brother.
All right, we'll keep it going. Wanted to ask you. You know, you mentioned carnivore. Why do you like adding? Why do you like that flexing into the carnivore diet? Why did you add that?
I added it because a couple years ago, I started to see some really amazing anecdotal evidence on what carnivore did for people, especially people who had autoimmune disease. And then I started reading, of course, getting into Dr. Paul Saladino's work, Sean Baker. I interviewed Dr. Paul Saladino, and I thought, man, this is interesting. This is, there's not long-term studies here, but there's a lot of short-term anecdotal evidence, and thousands of people who are saying what this did for them. So I know that I wanted to start teaching it to my community, but I never did it. So I always say I got to live it to lead it. So I did an experiment last year where I wanted to do 40 days of strict carnivore, and I wanted to see what it did for me. But I also wanted to back it up with extensive lab work. So I see what's going on. I share that with my audience. They'll see what's going on, completely transparent. So on day one of carnivore, I did this comprehensive lab panel of it's like a $3,500 lab panel where I got all these inflammatory markers done, my insulin, thyroid panel done, hormones done, my immune system done. So I did this panel on day one, and then I did 40 days of carnivore. Now, throughout the carnivore, I felt terrific. My skin complexion improved. I lost body fat. My sleep scores verified with Aura improved. My readiness score improved. My heart rate variability improved. I was more rested. I was more energized. I also have autoimmune disease because I was not healthy for a long portion of my life. I had mercury poisoning, mold toxicity. So I developed Raynaud's, which is an autoimmune disease. And it's improved over the years as I've improved my health, but I would still get flare-ups. And my flare-ups would be in two different directions. My hands would be really cold to the point where if I hold a cold beverage or wash my hands in cold water, it could go numb and turn white and purple to the point where the blood's not flowing there, which could be serious, especially if I'm out in really cold temperatures. But the other thing that would happen to me would be, Joel, I would eat a meal, and then after the meal was done, the hands would flare up really hot and they would get swollen. I would have to remove my ring and move it to the other finger, and it would get really hot. So I would have two opposite ends of the spectrum here. So I wanted
This
to
was
see
even
what
when you were
carnivore
doing
would.
keto? That was even when you were doing
Yeah,
your even in ketosis. Wow.
correct. Yeah, and that's improved over the years as I've been doing detox for heavy metals, but still
Yeah.
doing keto before carnivore, I would get these flare ups. Yeah. So
Wow.
the 40 days that I did carnivore the first time, I only had two small flare ups with my autoimmune disease. That's it, which
Wow.
was, it spoke volumes to me, right? So that was, the how I felt. Let's talk about the lab work. On day 40, I did the whole panel again, the same thing on day 40. And then I got my lab results, and oh my gosh, all of my inflammatory markers dropped. For example, high sensitivity C-reactive protein, which is a marker that doctors order or practitioners order to look at your risk of a cardiovascular event, heart attack, stroke, heart disease. On day one, my C-reactive protein was 1.1, which is already pretty good. But after doing nothing but eating animal fat, cholesterol, and protein from animal products for 40 days, I cut that in half, more than half, and went from 1.1 to zero point 0.5, right? Which flies in the face
Wow.
of conventional wisdom saying you're eating all this cholesterol, it's going to increase your risk of a heart disease. It was the complete opposite. My
Yeah.
homocysteine dropped. My A1C dropped a point. My fasting insulin improved as well. So everything on that panel improved. The only thing that went up was my cholesterol and LDL. However, if there's lower oxidation, meaning lower inflammation, I'm not concerned about that, because as long as my inflammation is down, even if LDL is up, inflammation is what directs the LDL into the arteries for issues, but I didn't have inflammation, or I should say I didn't have high amounts of inflammation. So then I decided, okay, this worked for me. I have the proof here. I'm going to start teaching it. So I built out a pillar. I actually changed my entire third pillar. It was never carnivore to a carnivore pillar. I built it out in my Keto Kamp Academy for the students, and then I wrote a chapter about it in the book. So that's how it all got started.
That is so cool. Um, I'm curious. You've been doing this stuff for a while. What's like one of the most memorable testimonials that you can think of that someone shared with you? I'm sure you have tons and that they just come in all the time, but is there any one that stands out where you're like, wow?
Yeah, there is one actually that just came in 2 days. I was on a live stream on Wednesday, just 2 days ago, and this gentleman, David, who lives in the UK, posted this. So here's what he said. He said, "Hey Ben, thank you so much for your inspiration. For me, keto has been a lifesaver. I reversed prediabetes, prostate cancer is in remission, blood pressure normalized with no medication, reversed fatty liver disease, joint pain and sciatica gone, hay fever gone, erectile dysfunction is a thing of the past. Oh, I lost 85 pounds. All of the health benefits far outweigh the weight loss in my mind. Thank you on behalf of everyone for leading us on the good way to health," which is amazing, dude. How incredible
Yeah.
is that?
Oh, dude, it's bringing tears to my eyes. Seriously, just thinking about. I mean, you just think about what that person's prison and just the suffering that they had to go through, and it's just what an uplifting. It's gone. You helped take that away from them. I mean, you can't
Absolutely
put a price on
amazing.
that.
No, you can't. And I
That
remember I remember when you spoke at the Biohacking Congress, man, the testimonies that you shared were so inspiring, helping people walk, helping them live a better life. It's just that's our purpose, man. That's why we're so good at what we do,
yeah
because we don't have to be pushed to do what we do, because we have the knowledge, but then we apply it, and then we see these human beings apply it. These incredible people, they get their results, and it just inspires us to want to do more and want to do
yeah.
more. And that's how you know you're living to your highest values. And I saw it with you when you spoke on stage, and I feel the same exact way, man. And I wouldn't be doing anything else other than what I'm doing now.
Yeah, man, I love that. Oh, that's good. Hey, I wanted to ask you, what are some exciting projects that you're working on right now? I know you just came out with the book, so it's maybe there's like some like downtime, like hey, kind of time to reset. But I'm curious, anything else that you're up to?
Yeah, so I'm about to launch a big 7-day keto challenge. I'm not sure when this podcast is going to air, but it's going to be like in 10 days from now, so it might be after the
Okay.
fact. But that's the
Yeah.
biggest thing I'm working on. Um, I'm going to get like probably like 2,500 to 3,000 people in there. It's a free challenge. Educate them on keto. It's going to be a lot of fun. I also spoke, Joel, with a publisher reached out to me, and they want me to, well, they want to talk about me writing a new book with them. So that could be a good thing. They want me to do more of like an advanced keto book, so more like advanced strategies for keto.
Yeah.
That might be something I do, but something that I've been thinking about that's been weighing on my heart is writing a new book, but writing a new book all about mindset. Like I love speaking about mindset just as much as I love speaking about keto and fasting. That's why I loved your talk, because your talk and what you do. And I'm never gonna forget that video you showed with the fleas, and I show that all the time now, and the conditioning and all that. So I don't know. In my heart, I want to write a book about mindset. The publisher wants me to write a book about advanced keto. I'll see where it leads to, but either way, it's going to be a good thing. So that's what I'm up to right now.
Yeah, both are great options, right? And you can do no matter which comes next. It doesn't matter because they're all beautiful and they're all going to be impactful, and it's going to be beautiful no matter what. So you can't go wrong.
Amen, brother. It is.
Love it, man. Real quick before we jump in some lightning round of questions, anything that I didn't ask you that you wish I had?
What didn't you ask me? Let's see. No, you asked some really great questions. Yeah, I guess you're staying away from it because it's controversial. But what's happening in the world? What's happening in the U.S. with our health freedom being taken away from us? I mean,
yeah.
So I guess the question could be, where do I stand with what's going on? I know you know where I stand, but I'd like to share it if you're open to it.
Yeah, and just before you do that, I just want to say, you live in an amazing freedom state called Florida. I do not. I live in California currently. However, that will be changing in a couple months or so. And when I got to meet you in person, it was beautiful. And first thing you said to me is, "Hey, brother, can I give you a hug?" And I was like, "Absolutely, man. Let's do it." And by the way, we were not, Ben and I were not wearing masks, believe it or not. I know where we stand, but yeah, go ahead. Yeah, I'm clear. I'm curious.
We weren't wearing masks, exactly. Yeah. Thank God I live in Florida. Thank God our governor is, and it's not political, but he's standing for our freedom. That's what's most important. That's why so many people are coming to Florida. As a matter of fact, two things just happened in Florida in the last 7 days. The first thing that happened 8 days ago, actually, they passed a bill that made it a permanent ban to require a vaccine passport to travel in and out of Florida, number one, but also to go to like sports stadiums and restaurants and all that. Other states are going to adopt that, meaning in order to go to a restaurant or to watch your sports team, you're going to have to show vaccine proof. Florida just banned that permanently because people voted, they signed the petition. So that's the power of the people right there. It wasn't just one person. It was all these signed votes they got, or signed petitions. The second thing that just happened, I just found out yesterday, the governor, DeSantis of Florida, he just signed an executive order on July 1st, the removal of the mask requirements to go into restaurants and sports bars or anything like that. Meaning when you walk into a restaurant and they say you got to wear a mask, or Whole Foods, you got to wear a mask, and you say, oh no, I have a medical condition or I don't want to wear that. They had the right before to say we're a private business, you got to do it. But according to this bill, that this law that he just signed on July 1st, they cannot discriminate against you. So you could say, no, did you know this is the law right here in Florida? We have the right to go in. You can't just. So that's amazing, because that's why so many people are coming to Florida, dude. And I know you're moving to is it Iowa?
Idaho.
Yeah. Is it like that over there too?
They are very big freedom fighters, and that's why we kind of had our sights there. But you know what? I mean, after meeting you and just kind of hearing more about Florida, I could be convinced. So we'll have to talk. We're gonna have to talk more. I just personally didn't know enough about Florida, and what actually put Florida on the map for me was everything you're talking about. I had no idea, and I'm like, okay, this might be another alternative. So I'm open to it. I'll have to talk more with you.
Oh yeah. Yeah, absolutely. The problem though is that the rent and the house sales are through the roof right now. That's the only issue, because everybody's coming here. Yeah, so
same in Idaho.
Idaho too. Yeah.
Yeah.
My stance is like, look, if you want to wear a mask, then that's terrific. Like, wear a
Yeah.
mask. If you want to get a vaccine, then that's your right. Hopefully, you done your research on it. But I'm not gonna hate you because you choose your choice to put on a mask or to get a vaccine. Just the same way that why would you hate somebody who doesn't want to wear a mask or doesn't want to get their vaccine? We just got to come together. Like,
Yeah.
honestly, man, it's being so divided right now. We need more love. We need more gratitude. We need more abundance thinkers like Joel, and get away from this mainstream propaganda nonsense. One of the worst things you can do right now that will wipe out your immune system is to watch the news every single day, because when you're living in fear, you're going to raise cortisol. I already talked
Yeah.
about that, but Dr. Bruce Lipton, I just interviewed him, and he shared that, for example, here's how stress wipes out your immune system, and then we'll get to your rapid fire questions.
Sure. Yeah. No, this is great.
When there's a patient that needs a kidney transplant, right? The patient that goes into surgery that's about to receive the new kidney, the surgeons that are about to do the procedure, what do? They actually inject that patient with stress hormones because it wipes out their immune system so the patient can accept that foreign object, which is the new kidney. That's exactly what's happening to us when we are in stress. Those are stress hormones. So just watching the news, especially CNN, they're the worst.
Yeah.
Watching the news is going to put you in fear, and it's going to wipe out your immune system, the exact opposite of what you're fearing things about. So that's my take on that. We got to be more loving, more abundant. I don't live in that world of fear. I don't live in that world of stress. If somebody disagrees with me, and I get a lot of not a lot of hate, I get some hate when I talk about the mask and all that, I just send that person love. I pray for them. And I think that's the way we got to handle it.
Yeah, the pandemic has really taught me that as well. You know, in the beginning, it was very stressful. And hey, I just realized, for one, everybody's on their own path, man. Like, I can't be there trying. Why am I so stressed out and angry with, the initials, that primal anger? Why am I feeling angry? It's because I want them to change a certain way. And you know what? It's like, that's not me. I'm not them. Hey, do whatever you want, man. I'm here to share knowledge and make people better. If you want to get better, great. And if you disagree with me, that's fine too. Like, you're on your own path, and I can't be mad about that. We all are on our own path, and we all hit certain, we all, what I'll say is we all get it at certain parts in our life, usually, hopefully. And so they're just they're on their path. And unfortunately, though, what I do feel bad about is when you're on that path, the challenging part is when you have a mainstream media that is corrupt and giving you false information. I almost feel bad for these people because it's not even their fault. Like, they're interpreting the information that they're being given, and they're not tuning into the Keto Kamp. They're not tuning into the Hack Life. They're not tuning into Bulletproof Radio or whoever else that is having these conversations. So in some ways, I just feel, like you said, I feel compassionate and sorry for them.
Yeah, I agree. Me too.
On that note, let's jump into some lightning round questions, brother.
Let's do it.
If the old you could see the new you, what would the new you say?
I would say change your thoughts and you'll change your life. And when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. So I'd say get really good at changing your thoughts.
That quote, I think you put that up a lot on your stories, don't you, on Instagram? Like with the I think with
Dr. Wayne Dyer. Yeah.
You throw that on like that beautiful seascape kind of view.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. Thank you. What are some choices that you made that you think made you who you are today?
Well, in the beginning, I chose to live as a victim, which led to an unhappy, unhealthy life. And then after that, I chose to be a victor and take ownership, which led to health, prosperity, abundance. So those are the two main things that I chose, both negative and then positive.
Yeah, that's huge. Who's someone in the like health and wellness world? You're obviously inspiring to millions and millions of people, but who's someone that inspires you?
My mentor, Dr. Dan Pompa. I think he's the greatest in the world, and I love that man. I learned so much from him, so he's the one who inspires me the most.
Yeah, that's so cool. He's that guy's a force, man. He's a force to be reckoned with.
He sure is.
What about books? Other than your four amazing books, what are some books that, and you mentioned it early on that you were, really impacted by these certain books. Are there any books that jump out at you, maybe 1 to 3 that you would recommend people read that impacted you?
Yeah, I would say anything from Wayne Dyer, Dr. Wayne Dyer. I know that's more of a general answer, but pick and choose anything from Wayne Dyer.
Yeah.
I also love the book Psycho-Cybernetics, which really helps you understand the self-image and how a lot of people sabotage themselves. They'll get one, they'll be successful 1 foot forward, and then they'll sabotage themselves and go 2 steps back. So to really help you understand your self-sabotage tendencies. So that's Psycho-Cybernetics, and then I'll throw one more in there. It's not a book, but it's an audio on Audible, and it's called "You Were Born Rich" seminar with Bob Proctor. It's from the 70s or maybe the 80s, but it's one of the best audios. It's from a seminar, but one of the best audios you can listen to. I literally listened to it. I completed the whole audio 27 times, and I still listen to it every other month. I go back to it. So it's called "You Were Born Rich" with Bob Proctor. I would recommend that.
I am gonna pick that one up. I've never read that. That's great. Thank you.
Oh, you're gonna love it, dude.
Oh yeah. What are some rituals or like daily practices or hacks that you like that you do on a regular basis?
Gratitude journaling every night, every morning, for sure, and sometimes throughout the day, because I believe what you appreciate appreciates, and then what you think about and think about, you bring about. So the more you can feed energy to that, the more you'll get. I also love the practice of writing down my goals. I also do that every night in the morning. I haven't missed a day of gratitude and goals in like over 4 years. Morning routine for sure. Walking my dog while the sun comes up, doing affirmations in my head as I walk my dog is another routine that I do. And then I also listen to something when I'm making my coffee. I'll listen to an audiobook that is positive, like a self-development book. So those are things I do every day.
Speaking of walking your dog, one of the things that I secretly am always jealous of you is when you jump out. I'm assuming it's like a kind of a condo kind of development that you're in. Is when you jump out and you just show beautiful Florida and the river that's like right by there. I'm just like, oh my God, man.
So beautiful here.
But it's
freaking
inspiring.
beautiful.
It's inspiring. Yeah.
Awesome, man.
Last couple questions. I want you to finish this sentence. 2020 was a crazy, challenging year for many of us, but people like yourself had amazing years. Maybe it was your best year ever, actually, is what I've heard from people like yourself. What's the reframe? So if I say to you, finish this sentence, 2020 was the greatest gift because why?
First of all, it was my greatest year in all areas, and then 2021 is already better. 2020 was a gift because it helped the world wake up to understand that health is wealth. Your health is important. And if you don't start focusing on your health, you're going to be susceptible to some bad things. So that's the greatest gift. It really helped our space, Joel, because more people are looking for people who are going to educate them on health. So yeah, that's the greatest gift, is it helped people understand how important their health is.
I love that. That's great. Last but not least, brother, where can people find you?
Get the book, ketoflexbook.com. I'd love for you to get it. It's available on Kindle and Amazon. And then since we're on your podcast, my podcast is called Keto Kamp Podcast, Camp with the K. I'm going to interview Joel very soon, so he'll be on the show. We're 200 and almost 70 or 60 episodes in. I'd love for you to subscribe to that as well. And and I had a great time with you, man. I love what you're doing. You're a bright light in this world. We need more Joels. So support Joel. Give his podcast a rating and review, and share this with everybody you know, because I just love what you're doing, brother.
Yeah, likewise, man. And, I didn't even mention that in the intro. I just mentioned how you're a highly acclaimed author, but you have a fantastic podcast. And what I really like about your podcast is that you interview a lot of good people who aren't on like the quote unquote podcast circuit per se, or they're not on like all the other like major podcasts, which we see in anybody that has a podcast knows what I'm talking about. It's like you see all the same people who are promoting their books and stuff. You have like these really fascinating, interesting people in the health world that I've never heard about. I'm like, oh, and they're dropping some killer knowledge. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that acknowledgement, brother.